Hello guys, and welcome to another Diablo 4 video. Today I want to share with you my Landslide Poison Creeper Shred build, which is in my opinion one of the best Druid builds for leveling and for the endgame in general. This version of the build though combines the speed and mobility of Shred with the powerful burst damage of Poison Landslide, so that the end result is a hybrid product that can work more or less everywhere in the game. The build is super fun to play, has extremely fast clearing speed, especially in Hell Tides, and after all, if you want, it can push Nightmare dungeons. As you're currently seeing, I pushed all the way to level 51 Nightmare dungeon while being below level 80 on my character, with more or less no defensive Paragon nodes or any defensive equipment. Probably I could push even further if I tried hard, but at this point of the season I find it useless as I'm focusing on speed farming and Hell Tides instead. Another quality of the build is that it doesn't require any uniques to run, and it also doesn't require the barber, which I couldn't even get despite the fact that I farmed for hours. Still, I'm yet to test this build with the barber, and I'm sure it will be even stronger. And in the end of the intro, I just want to mention that I'm using Shred in this build, not only because I love Shred in general, and not only because this makes the entire thing more mobile and faster, but because the main purpose of Shred, apart from the mobility, is the fact that it acts as a storm skill in the Nature Fury passive and reduces the cooldown of both Bulwark and Trample. You know, in World Tier 4, especially if you want to push dungeons, if you want to do Nightmare dungeons in general, only one skill that grants you Unstoppable is not enough. This is the reason why I have Bulwark and Trample. Not only because I need Unstoppable, because I can reduce the cooldown of those thanks to the Shred ability. Let's begin. Alright guys, a few words about the build. First thing first, these are the skills that you're using. We're using Shred with Poison, Creeper, and with Trample. Those are the three main skills. So if I have to describe the build in a few sentences, we have Trample, that summons Landslide, deals tons of damage, also make sure that you're unstoppable, and also make sure that it fills your Spirit Globe. Have Shred that consumes the spirit and make sure that you're super mobile when you jump from monster A to monster B, better positioning yourself in the process and farming faster. Also we have Bulwark for additional damage and to break CC, which is incredibly important. Also to make sure that we have Barrier, which will preserve our Fortify. Having Fortify will be extremely important. I'm going to get to that later. Storm Strike, just to have a basic skill, you're not using it that often. And you have a Petrify. Now, many other players will select Cataclysm instead. However, I don't like Cataclysm at this point for one simple reason. My particular setup is not very tanky. It's not very tanky. Usually, if I am running hard content, what I would do is I'll make sure I have my ultimate, everything ready, so I'm going to kill them all before they kill me. But I'm going to release a separate video where I'll be doing a more tankier version of the build, but this will follow later, probably when I get to level 90, level 100, you name it. So the point is, since I'm not that tanky, I don't like Cataclysm because if I activate it, it lasts longer. In certain situation, when I'm not ready, it's going to pull tons of elites on me. I will have everything on cooldown and I won't be able to do anything, I'm going to die. So this is the reason why I don't like it. I prefer Petrify because I want to have control of it. I want to use it when I feel like I'm ready to use it. Even though in certain situations Petrify is going to summon Cataclysm, but those cases are rare, so it's not a big deal. We're going to get to that later. So the point is, Shred will count as a lightning skill only to trigger the passive of Nature Fury. And once it does that, it will reduce the cooldown of Trample, it will reduce the cooldown of Bulwark. So in a way, we'll always have a way to escape CC, we'll also have a way to deal damage, and we'll also have a way to stay alive. This is why this build is so good. As you saw, it works extremely good in Hell Tides, one of the fastest builds for Hell Tides, and it's also decent for pushing harder content. It's not that difficult to do so. And once again, this is considering the fact that I didn't invest in anything defensive, except for probably this particular skill, Vigilance. Anyways, let's get to the Spirit Boost first. I say booms, I'm sorry. Warriors, the first one, take 10% reduced damage from elites. We're taking 10% attack speed, which is super important because you need to make sure that your Shred is fast enough in order to reduce the cooldowns of your Trample and your Bulwark as fast as possible. If your Shred is slow, this is not going to happen that fast, and it's going to be unfortunate. You're going to be in a case where you need Shred to reduce the cooldown of Trample, but since Shred is slow, you're going to waste a lot of time and you might die in the process. So make sure that you have a decent attack speed for Shred. And this is probably the main weakness of the build for now, because I do have decent attack speed, but it doesn't feel like super strong. This is to be changed very soon. So we have the 10% attack speed and we have the critical strike damage. Here we're taking Pack Leader. That is super important because it makes sure that Poison Creeper always resets its cooldown. It's very, very good. Here we are taking Calm Before the Storm so that we can reduce the cooldown of Petrify. More or less that's it. If you take a look at the abilities, first thing first, we're taking Stone Strike, even though we won't be using it that often. I only use it when I fight bosses, strong bosses. We're taking Wild Impulses because the build relies on two core attacks. First we have Shred and we have Landslide. As you can see, since Landslide is not on the bar here, we're not going to take Enhanced Landslide, we're not going to take Primal Landslide. However, we're going to take Shred, Enhanced Shred, and Primal Shred together with 2 points in Predatory Instinct so that we can get a little bit more critical strike chance. We're taking Bulwark with Innate Earthen Bulwark and 3 points in Vigilance for additional survivability. Poison Creeper, just 1 point, that will be enough. The damage comes from Landslides, not from Poison Creeper itself. And here we have Brutal Poison Creeper for 20% increased critical strike chance, which is crazy. We're taking Trample, just 1 point is enough, and Savage Trample, so that every single time you use Trample, you gain 40 Spirit, that's crazy good. Crushing Earth, Safeguard, and Stone Guard, those are important. Here we're taking Envenom, and only 1 point in Toxic Claw, so that we can basically slow our enemies using our werewolf skills. And Petrify has Prime Petrify. I didn't really put anything here because I don't think it's worth. I don't have any spirit issues. We're going to get to that in a second. I'm taking Natural Disaster and Defiance. Only 1 point in defensive posture. It could be better, but it is what it is. And the Nature Fury, which is the bread and butter of this particular build. You're using Nature Fury. You're triggering it with Shred, and this reduces the cooldowns of Trample and Bulwark. So let's jump into the items so I can show you what I currently have on my head. I have the duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. That's pretty important. You need to make sure that you have the barrier so that you can also keep your Fortify. Why is that important? We're going to get to that immediately because this is my weapon. My weapon sucks, but even with this bad weapon, I managed to kill more or less everything. It's pretty good. First thing first, I wish I had this aspect at maximum row so that I get 80%. That's huge. You increase the damage of your core skills, Landslide and Shred, by 80%. That's incredible. On top of everything, you must have core skill damage, and the next thing that you must have, but unfortunately I don't, is vulnerable damage. So if I had vulnerable damage, good roll on this weapon, it would be godlike. But at this point, I just don't. And I tried to reroll multiple times, I just didn't get it, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Here, we have another core item. When the Nature Fury key passive triggers a free skill, your non-ultimate cooldown of the opposite type reduced by 5. If you want, you can imprint it on the amulet, but you're going to lose a lot of damage. So I prefer having it on the boots. Probably if I really want to push very difficult nightmare dungeons, it would be wiser to put it on my amulet. I'm not up to that situation yet. As I mentioned in the beginning, this is a leveling build, so you can use it all the way to 80, 90, 100, and then if you really want to push something super hard at 100 or let's say 95, whatever, then you can decide to do something different. But at this point, it's working perfectly fine. Here, I'm taking 18% bonus amount to my next Earthen Bulwark for each enemy you crowd control up to a maximum 100%. So I increase the duration, and we are increasing the strength of the Bulwark. That's very, very important. Here, I'm taking the armor increase. That's self-explanatory. And the gloves are probably the most important part of this build. Ranks of Landslide is pretty good. If you want to do, however, if you want to do Helltides more often, then Ranks of Shred also makes sense. For instance, look at this. I have max roll of attack speed, max roll of critical strike chance, max roll of Shred. However, I don't have lucky hit chance. And the point is, gloves have actually offers everything that you require in this build. You require lucky hit chance, that you can increase the lucky hit chance of Shred, you can increase the lucky hit chance of Landslide, and you can reduce the cooldown, actually reset the cooldown of Poison Creeper, stuff like this. So it is very, very important. However, you also require attack speed. That's super important so that you can shred hits faster and resets your cooldowns faster. And you also require critical strike chance. That's super important. And it also requires ranks of Shred. So you need 5 things. 5 things in total. You need to get rid of one of those. So it's really, really difficult. I usually would get rid of Shred if I'm doing Nightmare Dungeons, and I'll get rid of Landslide, ranks of Landslide if I'm doing Helltides. That's why I have, you can see, 3 different pairs of gloves. But at the end of the day, all of those are giving me this particular aspect. Landslide, Earth Pillars, each strike a second time and deal an additional 9% bonus damage per hit. This one is also very good. Without it, the build doesn't really work. So you need the aspect, but also the the attributes on the gloves. On the amulet, Trample now summons 6 landslide pillars of earth during its duration that deals 113% damage. That's pretty important. Also, Devious Heart. This heart is a must. It basically works as a vacuum cleaner, vacuums everything together. Then use your ultimate, it vacuums everything together, stunning them in the process, increasing critical strike damage against them. Then use Landslide by actually using your Poison Creeper and destroy everything. On the next ring, I have the other very important aspect, which is a must. Werewolf skills function as storm skills, and Werebear skills functions as earth skills. This makes sure that your Shred can reset the cooldown of both Bulwark and Trample. So make sure that you have this one. And this is the Wrathful Heart that enables the build in general. I cannot say where it's better than the Barber because I never got the Barber. I was completely super 100% unlucky finding the Barber. And I got this one twice and another one 3 times, the one that has the Grizzly Rage. But anyways, this one is very important because every 20 kill, presumably that you're fasting pretty fast, that you're killing monsters pretty fast, every 20 kill you're going to get either 24% attack speed. That's super important. Either you're going to have 0 issues with the primary resource, that's super important, and you're going to get a barrier, again, that's very important. So, in a way, this particular heart enables the build so that you don't care about your primary resources, like when I say primary resources, I mean spirit, and it gives you the attack speed that you actually miss. Of course, those things alternate, but at the end of the day, all of them are important to the build. And the third one, every 5 seconds while above 60% health, core skills cost 350 life instead of your primary resource. Skills that consume life do 26% increased damage. So this is a very good boost against for your Shred. And also, Poison Creepers active also cast Landslide in a circle around your earth. Skills deal 16% increased damage to poisoned enemies. This one is self-explanatory, I don't even have to explain why I'm using it. So at the end of the day, this is the build. And the last thing that I want to showcase is the Paragon. Alright, let's take a look at the Paragon section. I'm getting Exploit, even though I can do a little bit better here. I will probably do very, very soon. I have Prime and Tenacity for some extra life. Life is now important, especially once they reduced all the damage reduction stuff. Here I'm taking a Reclamation. That's another way I can generate Spirit by killing stuff. I'm going for Ancestral Guidance. I'm taking here Fang and Claw. The point is I want to get as much core skill damage as possible, you see? So I'm aiming at core skill damage because I'm using 2 core skills, and I want them to be at, when it comes to Landslide, I don't have issues, but Shred feels a little bit weak, so I want to make sure that Shred is strong as well. Here, I'm taking Heightened Malice, and I'm also taking Earth and Devastation and Oppress. As you're currently seeing, the Paragon is in its infancy, and I just completed the renown of one area, of this one, Fractured Peaks. So I have 16 points to farm. The build is going to get much better. Another thing that I want to mention is that I really love this particular setup for additional reason, because there's so many ways to grow. Let's go it that way. We have Bulwark, but I don't have any gear that gives barrier generation. And if I get good gear that gives barrier generation, I can make sure that my barrier hits for 500 kills, stuff like this. Not my barrier, I'm sorry, but my Bulwark. So in a way, what I plan to do in the future is to remove the staff and get one-handed weapon with offhand, so I can get tankier, so that my Shred can get a little bit more attack speed, and in the end of the day, I can storm harder content. But for now, for leveling build, this is incredible. You can easily do with two-handed staff. Don't go for anything with less than 1 point attack speed per second. It's not that great, so staff is the ultimate thing that you can do. The other possible way that you can adopt similar build is to use the Chrome Staff and just shred everything with Claw. But I don't like this because it's super boring. I absolutely hate using Claw or using basic attacks in Diablo 4. So this is the main reason why I decided I'm going to do this with Shred, because it feels so much better. It's so much more fun compared to Claw and just walking casually, and then yeah, it simply doesn't work. It's simply not fun. Alright guys, so this is going to be all for you today. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and if you have any questions, make sure to ask them in the comment section. See you next time. Take care.
Perfect.